I think you could boil down the entire salvation history to returning to that place where we're no longer subject to fear and we're no longer subject to shame. And that's not based on our covering or our defenses, but it's just, and I think that's where we're ending up.
And isn't that what all this fighting is about? From the religious side and the scientific side? Isn't that our covering? Aren't we just shielding ourselves so that we're safe? You know, we have to create these barriers and we have to be right because it makes us safe. So maybe someday we'll all be coverless and safe together.
Yeah. Well, that's a beautiful and brilliant example of how something crazy simple and sounding childlike is limitless in its depth. Honest Christians differ on this last subject. And this is an example of some people are so vehement on the subject that they divide themselves from other Christians. It's kind of like legit Christians versus not legit Christians. And that's the question of how old the earth is. Young earth theory versus old earth theory. And what our author says is that that honest Christians can differ between thinking the earth is about 4.5 billion years old, or on the other end, between 10 and 20,000 years old. Or I guess some people, they would go so far as to say maybe 6,000 years old. And that's quite a difference.
Yeah, we don't know. Neither camp can say for sure. And in the big picture, no, it's not important. No one can figure out when we were made or where we came from. And they just are fighting about it. But I don't think it's important at all. And I know that sounds kind of callous because a lot of people hang their entire belief system on dating the earth. Like the Bible can't be true unless we prove that the earth is young, or, you know, the Bible isn't valid if we prove that the earth is old. And I find that laughable, because do people really believe for 1 minute that God lives in our timeline? I'm a big fan of C.S. Lewis. You know that already, but that was something that I grappled with a lot. And his genius and his apologetic writing, Mere Christianity, helped me bridge a lot of gaps in that area, because he described God as an author. And he said, when an author is writing a story, you know, if he says that someone stopped what they were doing because there was a knock at the door, and then the author walks away, then the person in the story who's going to answer the door is left right where they are forever until the author comes back. And time for the author is not the same as time for the people existing in his story. So it's not hard for me to not care too much about how old the earth actually is, which I believe it's quite older than 20,000 years, but to think that God operates on our timeline. He doesn't. He was here forever. He always is, always was, will always be. And we are very finite. We are very limited. We're just going to be here for a flash in the pan. And I think it's ridiculous to put God in our timeline.
I think that,
there you go.
I think that Satan, first of all, that was beautiful, Melissa. I think nothing delights the enemy more than this particular pot of derision. I think that if you can get this where we have infighting and outfighting, and everybody is so, it's just a distraction. And I think it would be better if we made friends with the idea that we are allowed to explore and investigate and study and wonder and question and even doubt, and that it is okay if we don't come back with the right answer, with the answer at all. If it's not going to keep you out of heaven, then why on earth are we hurting each other over it? I mean, if you do believe that not believing something means that it negates your entire faith, then I guess I understand why you are scratching and clawing and climbing and lashing out. And as far as old earth versus young earth, I don't know. I really don't know. I would like to know more. Sometimes I'm afraid to know more because I feel like there's so much brain melty stuff about this, but there always is with these questions, right? And if we're the ones asking the questions, then you got to saddle up and get ready to have some brain melting going on. But my dad used to have this saying when someone would do something foolish and think it was for a better gain, he would say things like, they're tripping over pennies. They're tripping over dollars to pick up pennies. And with these kind of questions, I don't know what you would replace dollars and pennies with, but I'm like, you're tripping over salvation to pick up opinion. Like,
That's good.
I don't know.
Grudem does a good job of talking about the use of the word, I guess the Hebrew word is yom, the word for day, and how at times, even in Genesis 2:4, he refers to the day that the Lord made the heavens and the earth. So even there, he's taking what was earlier described as 6 separate days and calling the whole thing in a day. And so we probably need to lighten up about the literalness of that and take up arms against each other. He also says that the scientific record certainly leans toward an old earth theory, but the simple reading of the scriptures very much leans toward 6 actual days. What I've told myself is just read it, that it's actually not the main point, and read it as if it's 6 days and enjoy it. Mm-hmm. But acknowledge that even scripture's self-definition shows that the days are somewhat flexible periods of time, eras of time, and that it doesn't have to be a fighting point. It can simply be enjoyed, because it's a very enjoyable and rich account that is life transformative.